Hello and welcome to this episode of Not Just Ghost Stories. I'm your host Josh, joined by Jackie and Laura. We are a small team of experienced paranormal investigators, and here we discuss different locations that we've investigated, along with a little history of the paranormal evidence that we found. Today we will be resuming our talk about the still active school. In last episode we went over things that we found as far as maybe possible portals. We know that there's shadow figures there, things that are happening in different parts of the schools, possibly why. Jackie, you want to iterate a little bit more on what else we found?
Yeah, and the fact that we, for the first time since in our many investigations of this school, we actually went outside, even though it was an interior courtyard, and found Indians there.
Yeah. Laura, what else do you remember so far?
That was exactly what I was about to say. Don't forget the new person we found that day.
So we had also talked about on last episode our kids, Eli and Jasper, and how we're going to have them on this episode. So if you guys would like to introduce yourself, Eli.
Hi.
Jasper.
Hello.
All right, Eli, how old are you?
I am 16 years old.
Jasper, how old are you?
I am 14.
Okay. Now, we've taken you at a couple ghost hunts at this school that we're talking about. Eli, what kind of things have you seen or had happen to you at one of the investigations that you remember?
I have seen lights turn on that I know I previously turned off. I have felt different things happen. And I have seen shadow figures move up in the casting room.
Okay, Jasper, what do you remember so far?
I remember seeing,
Did you see any shadow figures like your brother?
yes,
Did you see any full-bodied apparitions? Anything that looked like a person but was actually a dead person?
yes,
And what about things moved? Did you see anything move?
no,
Okay. Well, the biggest reason why we have you guys on here is because we think that you guys have possible, I guess you can say, abilities, right? Jackie, Laura, you guys agree with me on that?
Yes.
I believe a vast majority of children have some ability. I don't think it's biologically this person can and this person can't. I believe it's who can access it.
Yeah.
And I also think, just from experience, that at this age, they've usually either decided yes, they have them, or they've decided no, and they've kind of shut them off or put them in the back, where both your sons are still working, letting them come through.
I think it makes a big difference too that I didn't open myself up to it, until I started this journey, and they saw me do it. So they know they're never going to be told no. That's completely wrong or irrelevant, or you're making it up. I mean, I might not understand it, but they know that I'll believe what they say.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. I mean, where this goes back to is one of our first investigations that we ever did at Gaines Tavern. And like I said, we've talked about Gaines Tavern before. We're going to talk about Gaines Tavern again sooner or later, but we have all of these different things about Gaines. But we had taken them with us. We were there during the daytime doing some stuff, trying to set some stuff up for things that are getting ready to come for our investigation. One of the things that I really noticed was, Jasper, you were starting to make some kind of connection with dowsing rods. Do you remember that?
yeah,
And do you remember what kind of connections you were making?
mainly with other children
Do you remember where it was? And I'll ask you that.
in the top level of like the attic at Gaines Tavern.
Great. And he had a dowsing rod, which for somebody, this was a few years ago, so you were a little bit younger. It was a little different with dowsing rods on him. And, we taught him how to use them. Next thing you know, it was a little crazy how he just automatically picked it up. Things were automatically happening for him and with him. when I had been up there just prior trying to do the exact same thing, and I couldn't get any answers whatsoever. So at first I was thinking, well, maybe it's the age thing. But then we started seeing it a little bit more. Jasper, you remember down in the basement?
Yeah.
So he started having interaction with a child down in the basement that I couldn't get any interaction out of. And then he started talking to an adult also down there. So that he's getting an amazing reaction out of a dowsing rod. Eli, we have noticed, is more empathic. Laura, you want to go in a little bit more into that?
For Eli, it's not necessarily, from what I've seen so far, as far as what he has the ability to do, is he can read the energy of a room, but he doesn't realize that he reads it. He allows it to basically manifest through himself, which is something that he's currently working on, not to lose the ability, but the ability to control it. So I think that he eventually will be able to zone in, and he's just got to figure out how to wrap that somehow in his own mind to know what the signals are really meaning.
Yes. Now, Eli, what do you feel about that? Is there something you would like to say about that and how you feel?
Yeah, I feel that I really do want to expand on that, and I don't want to shut that back to the back of my head, and I really want to just keep it at its full level.
Okay. Do you understand what empath means? I know that you've hung around me and Laura quite a bit, and you start to understand things and start to learn things. So do you understand what empathic means?
I do, to some sort of knowledge, as you explained to me, but I don't really understand the full effect and everything of it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, because you were at that Gaines Tavern also, let me ask you real quick about that. What do you remember about that day?
I distinctly remember going to the basement. That's one of the things that I always remember.
Okay. And what kind of answers do you remember getting or feelings that you got from the basement?
I remember I had went down there with Jasper, and when he was using dowsing rods, when he was talking to the kid, I did start feeling very emotional, but in a sad and happy way. As in, oh, this guy is talking to me. It is nice to talk to somebody that's younger like myself.
Okay. All right. So I've been trying to get your guys' reaction as far as how we've started to learn things about you guys. So we're going to move over to the school investigations that we've done, and you guys have been there multiple times, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the first times that we went, it was just the four of us. It was me, Laura, Eli, Jasper, correct? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
You guys remember different things that happened during that investigation? Jasper.
At one point we were up
above the stage, the control room.
the control room in the auditorium.
Okay. And then, Eli, do you remember what happened in the control room?
I do. I remember that Laura was getting somebody or something to hit the REM pod walking up the stairs. I remember that we had heard somebody on the moving metal on the other side of a locked door, so we used a recorder to try and communicate with them.
Okay. Do you remember getting anything off of that recorder?
No, I do not remember getting anything from that.
And we didn't. We got sounds, and we got Laura talking in the background.
Because I sat there and attempted to interact with it for, I don't know. It seemed like a long time in my mind.
Well, and during that investigation, you were the only one really being able to make any contact with whatever that was, because anytime we came close, they just kind of disappeared, which was a little weird. But we were kind of doing this just to kind of get the boys and kind of judge them a little bit as far as how things are running with them and what their feelings are. That's one of the reasons why we did just the four of us. So we also did a few other places in there. We went to the choir room. We picked up some stuff there. One of the really cool things that I know you guys have talked about was when we were downstairs in the dressing room, right?
Yes.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
I remember when we were downstairs in the dressing room, we had a REM pod sitting in the middle of the room. We all four were sitting on each side, and all of a sudden something started going off. So we asked this thing to then keep on hitting the REM pod. Eventually, it ran out of energy, so my dad gave it more, and it just kept on answering yes and no questions for us.
Jasper, do you remember the big Rembot hit we had at the one point?
Yes.
That was probably the coolest thing I ever had happen actually in that room. Laura, and then you actually kind of tapped in and said it was a child, a boy, we think?
Yeah, that was the reading I got was, maybe like 13-ish.
Okay. So we know that we have different stuff happening inside of this school. Like I said, we talked about it a lot on the last episode. Jackie, during the public kind of style hunt where we had some other people that were there, part of the school, running around with us, what other things did we pick up on inside there? Do you remember?
In the dressing room?
Yes.
Well, George Washington was mad at me, so I didn't hear too much from him, but I think you guys got a couple hits from him or something.
I do. I believe it was me and Eli, and there was a couple other people in that room.
I believe that it was me, my dad, Robin, Jasper, and I'm pretty sure that was it.
But Eli, do you want to tell us about what happened in the dressing room when it was us there?
Yes, I remember that we were sitting there, and my dad had told George Washington to make a noise behind me to freak me out, and it happened.
I really think he only does things just to annoy people. Like he interacts only when it would be annoying for someone. And with Jackie, he's always mad at Jackie, and she's always mad at him.
Well, I just simply brought in facts about George Washington and pointed out to him that, hello, he's not George Washington.
The thing is I think he considers you a friend.
Probably. I think he likes being annoyed.
Jasper, what do you remember about that moment?
I remember when you told the person that says to be George Washington to make a noise behind Eli. I remember he knocked a foam mannequin head off of the cabinet behind him.
That would be correct.
That is so George Washington. He's so overdramatic.
He is very overdramatic. It was one of those things where I found it comical. Jasper laughed. Eli did not.
I did not like it. I ran out of that room so fast.
But
while he was saying, "Who did that? You did that."
And it was a fun moment, but it just goes to show because Eli kept saying, "I feel like somebody's in here," which is one of those things where I know he's starting to slowly pick up on things. He's starting to understand what exactly is going on. So when he started saying that, I had to kind of mess with him a little bit, and luckily something actually came out of it. It was pretty fun.
The noise startled Jasper as well. So I'm just curious if when the activity does happen and it startles you, why do you keep wanting to go?
It really intrigues me about how much is at this place. I just want to figure out all of the different mysteries and the crooks and crannies of all of this.
Okay, I got to interject here because this is way too scientific. Why do I stay there when things scare the shit out of me? Because it's cool.
Well, that and we're experienced investigators, so we have to be crazy.
Back to our motto. We're badasses, but stupid.
Yep.
That's why I ran.
I think for me, it's like a adrenaline junkie.
No, I would agree with that. And I think Eli's got a little bit of it. Jasper, however, I think that he wants to do it, but I'm thinking he's still unsure. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
He is my man of few words. But let's get back into the investigation a little bit. I will tell you that at points I did split up. Jasper kind of followed me around. He was kind of hooked to my hip almost all night. Eli decided to kind of wander off on his own. And one of the things that really intrigued me and kind of really got me thinking a little bit more about Eli starting to pick up things was he came running to me. Everybody else was different. I was in the one area with all of our equipment, just trying to change some stuff out. He came running to me and he said, Dad, you have to come to the gym. You have to come to the gym. I said, why? He said, I think it's a portal. However, we had never told him about this. So we did. I went in there and investigated with him, and come to find out, me being able to kind of sense those things, yep, it was starting up. I think at that point is when you were calling me about the people outside.
Yeah. So you got to kind of wonder, like, whoa, there's a lot of energy going at one time.
Yeah. There was a whole lot going on. Jackie was then, I think you were with a group of people, and they had a lot of stuff happening in the auditorium at the time. And you came to me and you're like, there's a lot happening in here.
Yeah.
So, which is now starting to lead me to believe what's going on. But the big intriguing thing to me at that point was Laura's like, we got to go outside. We got to go to this courtyard. There's something going on out there. Eli, were you with us when we went out to that courtyard?
Originally, I no, but then I did join y'all later when we went back the second time.
Okay. Was it you, Jasper, who was with us then?
Yes.
Now, I gave you dowsing rods.
No, I had the dowsing rods on me and you borrowed them.
That's right. So I'm just trying to think it out.
Come on, Dad.
I know. What can I do? But we ended up finding a grave. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I think I gave you the dowsing rods to try to look too, didn't I?
No, because I did not know how to detect it.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to remember exactly what was going on as far as that point. But I know we ended up having REM pod hits during that time. Laura, you were getting a whole bunch of answers during that time. I think it was just the three of us out there, wasn't it?
It was. And then we went in to find Jackie because we wanted her to see it too, which I'm assuming when we came back is when Eli joined us as well. But by the time, all that had happened, because when we say that we were out there with dowsing rods and we were getting activity, it wasn't like a 30-second span. I'm sorry. Like to get that much going, it takes time. So there was probably like 15 or 20 minutes that elapsed during that time. And then by the time we went to get Jackie and found her and got back out there, that was probably 30 minutes after the onset of it finding it. And so by the time we got her out there, I don't know if they were just out of energy or they were like, forget it, you didn't listen the first time. But by the time we got everybody out there, it was like it had dissipated.
Yeah. Now, Jackie, as far as the school itself, I know, like I said, you had stuff happening on the stage in the auditorium. There was stuff happening upstairs. There was some stuff happening in a few other places, wasn't there, during that time?
Yeah, I had set up several experiments in the library with actually tarot cards and a dowsing pendulum. And the one person that went with us, I told him, ask the person to point with a dowsing pendulum at which tarot card they think represents them. And he was getting answers. And then he also started asking his own questions, and he was also getting answers. There was another group back in the auditorium. They were up in the control room, and they were talking to, I believe, a woman who was pregnant and crying a lot. So
As far as that control room, it seems like so many people meet so many different personalities. What is it with this room?
well, think about all the electronic equipment in it.
That's true.
It's where they probably go for, or not where they go for energy, but there's enough energy there that they can answer, and different people can come in and
So it's like a gas
different
station
answers.
for them because there's so many things
Yeah.
plugged in. That makes sense.
Okay. Well, what about the dressing rooms? What would be theory on that then? Because it seems like to me, you got your one main and you got George. George doesn't leave. George loves that place, and I don't know why. But there seems to be like a little in and out in the dressing room areas down there too.
There is. The first time I walked in the dressing room, I stopped and the guy behind me went, "What's wrong?" I said, "There's no room for me in here. There's about 6 of them there." I got the impression that as we're all ghost hunting, we go to the auditorium, we go to the control room, we go to the gym, we go to the big places, the library, places where we think ghosts are. Nobody ever thinks, let's go to the dressing room, unless you're us. And then, of course, we end up in the dressing room. So the first time I walked in the dressing room, I got the impression that the ghosts there was a party going on, and they were hiding from us.
Okay, so I can definitely understand that. I mean, they're smaller rooms. They're dark. They're kind of off the beaten path, I guess you could really say. Now the portals in the school, those are the one things that amaze me inside that school, especially in the gymnasium area, because it's not always there. It's only there at certain points. Eli happened to pick up on it the one time that he was there, but it was literally like it was just forming. So it's not there all the time. What would be maybe theories on portal, let's say that portal, for instance?
Well, let me go back and kind of give you my correction to that. That portal is always there. Sometimes it's open like a door. Sometimes it's closed. When it's closed, nothing comes through it. You don't even think of it. When it's open, it's like, you've opened the gates and the buses come in, you open the gates and all the kids are coming in. So you notice it then. So like I say, I think it's always there. It just depends on whether it's opened or closed.
Okay. What would you say, Laura? About the same, or?
Yeah, I believe something as strong as a portal can't just disappear entirely. I don't know if I imagine that it like shrinks in on itself and then opens back up. But it's still there. It's just like it's flattened. So you don't feel it and there's nothing going through it, but it's still there. It's just formed a different way.
The one in the gym is very hard to imagine because that thing is huge.
Yeah.
And you would think, how can it disappear?
Well, and I have felt that one because it goes from
Floor
it's
to
almost
ceiling.
it's floor to ceiling, and it's almost like 0 to 60. If it's not open,
That one, it reminds me of a tornado.
yeah, if it's not open, you can definitely tell. But when it's open, as soon as you walk through the doors into that gym, you're like, oh, whoa, it's huge, and it's just like something's always going on.
I think it has to open and close quite frequently because as many times as we've gotten to investigate there, this one and that one, not necessarily just as this group, there's too many personalities you come across. And then there's some that you don't ever meet again. And they have to be coming and going. For every time you go, you meet a new person that wasn't there before. And as much as accumulated have investigated there, there's no way they were there. Nobody found them beforehand. So I don't know what it is about that particular gym, but not every school has a portal. So I can't say it's because it's a school.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you boys real quick. Do you understand portals, Eli?
To an extent, I've been explained it before, but I really have never actually looked into them.
Okay. Jasper, do you understand what a portal is?
Not really.
Okay. In our theory, and I'll go over it just so that way everybody's coming on the same page, including anybody who's listening. A portal is a doorway that can be leading in or out for possible transportation for something to come in or out of something. Do we understand that? Does that make more sense?
Yes.
Okay. So we know that there's one in the gym, right? There's another one that I felt, Jackie, you and I are the only two that have experienced this one.
Oh, yeah.
While the students were actually in the school. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that did not make sense as a portal. Definitely wasn't a vortex. I just wonder if that was
poltergeist that's
Somebody,
common during that age.
yeah. But I mean, the talk about 0 to 60, the energy went from kids eating lunch to maybe we should get out of here.
Yeah, it was almost a whirlwind. Almost. Well, that's about the only way I can explain it. It was like hitting the side of the face with
Yeah.
something, you know. So that was kind of one of the weirdest things that I think I've ever had. I mean, we've been through a lot of investigations. We've had some weird stuff happen, but that one, when you came and got me and brought me in there, I was like, what's going on here? So that was kind of one of those weird things. There is one that I think it's a very small portal up in the choir room. Jasper, you actually kind of felt something about that one, and he's the one that brought it up to me. Do you remember that?
I remember you bringing me to it during the public hunt.
Yeah. Eli, I think I took you in there on it too. Do you remember that one?
Yes, I do remember that.
Okay. Do you remember any feelings from it, Jasper?
I remember feeling sadness and like I don't fully know how to describe it.
Okay. That's fine. That's totally because, again, portal's one of those things we don't know a whole lot about still. Do you remember what you felt, Eli?
Yeah, I do. I remember that I had felt just the same way as Jasper. I felt sadness. I walked in and I sat in a chair and I felt like crying. I mean, like there was so much grief. And I feel like that was what Jasper was trying to get at, grief. But there's no words to put grief into a sentence. Because grief can be very different things for everybody.
Gotcha. Okay. Jackie, there's another portal someplace in the school too, isn't there?
You had brought it up, but I haven't run across it, I don't think.
There's that weird place in that alcove at that one counselor's. I know that's not helping you all get to where I am. It's not a portal. That's not what I got off of it, but it's definitely it's a big shift of energy there. Feels like a doorway, but not like a portal kind of doorway. I don't know what kind of doorway, just not that kind. I'm still discerning on it, I guess. I don't have any other answers for it.
Yeah.
I need more time in that alcove.
I will get it soon. Well, let's kind of break everything down then as far as this school and our whole entire series on schools, because we've talked about a couple others before this. So what is our overall thinking of why schools have so much activity? Jackie?
I think the easier answer is why wouldn't schools have activity? You take a bunch of teenagers, which are basically walking hormones, who the brain has been disconnected for a couple years, and put them in a school, and you have drama over the fact that somebody else wore the same shirt they wore, or somebody's boyfriend did something different, or they got a test. And I mean, all that is energy creating, and energy also takes away energy and stuff. So you've just got the perfect storm of energy.
And then you have, most people attended a sort of school. So everyone would have a tether to that environment. So anybody that didn't pass all the way on, would be able to feel comfortable, I guess, there. And then there's the notion that most schools sit on donated land. Donated land like that usually has a very long history. It's not usually just out in the middle of nowhere. It's been inhabited for probably more years than we even think about.
Well, that's a great point too. My biggest question, and see, Jackie, if you can answer this, why would the building hold energy, especially in these older places like Post Town?
From what I've noticed about Post Town and other places that I've been, the first time as they open up to investigations, you do get some energy. It may just be residual. But as more and more people go there, and there's a lot of people that maybe don't have some psychic ability but don't understand it, don't know they have it and stuff, and they're bringing this with them, the energy raises. As the energy raises, it's going to gather other spirits. Like Laura brought up, the school is something we all can relate to. Whether we went to that school or not, we remember elementary school, we remember high school, and generally bad times, but a lot of good times too. So as a spirit that's wandering around, perhaps you died which with Post Town, this is true, you died in a train wreck. Where are you going to go? You're going to go to the place where you died? Or, hey, there's a school there. Remember when I was a kid and, we had good food and stuff like that? You're going to go to the school.
That's a great way to explain it overall, guys. I mean, that's probably one of the best explanations that I've ever heard from anything. So, I mean, boys, do you guys have a theory as to why schools could be holding energy, or why, other than what they said, or does any of that make sense?
I agree with Jackie on this. I mean, like, that is just a good point.
Okay.
Same thing.
Again, man of many words right there.
I always have a million more theories, but I've stated my strongest ones.
No. So, what I would like to say is we're not done investigating this place, and you might hear some more, but I think our next investigation that you're going to hear is about hopefully the property of this place, or even the property around it, because I really feel that the property itself is holding a lot of energy. I'm really hoping that one day here soon we can end up doing that, especially after finding Indians that we didn't know were there anyway. So I would love to see if we can delve into that a little bit more. What do you guys think?
We will be doing the field house. I have spent a lot of time in the field house and come to realize that it is haunted, and come to realize I actually spoke to one spirit and asked him flat out, "You going to hurt me?" And he said yes. I think he was lying to me at that point. But
I think you're drew to that field house too. Field house gets brought up by you a lot. So I don't know if there's something in there that intrigues you, or something in there that is drawing you just because it knows it's there.
There is something in there that when I go in there, I, in the back of my mind, go, am I getting out alive? So, again, our motto, badasses but stupid, got to go in there and figure it out.
Sounds like a fun day.
And that will be another podcast because I like it. With all that, this has been Not Just Ghost Stories.
Can I?
Yeah.
I do have a question for Jasper. Eli said he would like to, and you are good with dowsing rods. Everybody can use dowsing rods, but what made you good, the first time you used them, and I asked you to make them cross by thinking at them, you did it. That takes somebody who's like me. I can do it, but it took years of me practicing. You did it right off the bat. So you are good with dowsing rods. You do have that. Do you want to keep this sort of possible psychic ability? Do you want to keep ghost hunting? Or are you just like, I'm good knowing they're there. I don't need to go seek them?
Yes, I would love to do more ghost hunts, especially with and like learning new and other types of things that could help me.
Okay. When we get the bad ones, we'll bring you in first.
Yep.
Do you guys talk about this with other schoolmates, other friends? Or is it sort of a taboo? You're a little bit afraid to bring it up to people?
My friends aren't really into the paranormal. I might mention it once or twice to some of my close friends, but I don't really talk to them about it. I might bring it up now that we're talking about it here, but
I have a couple friends that are getting sort of interested into it, so I've kind of talked with them about it, but I don't fully know a lot about it.
Okay, well then the big question, have you told them about this podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
no, never. Not once.
Okay. You cannot go home, but you can.
And that's another thing for listeners. Just be open. You don't necessarily have to believe exactly what your child believes. Your child should be allowed to decide for themselves. what abilities and if there is any, if they want to keep them, or I think you always keep them. You just don't hone them.
Right. And don't be afraid to talk to other people. There's always people like us. We are not psychologists, or anything like that, but we do work in the paranormal, and we do not look at anybody and say, you're crazy. Okay, we may tell you you're crazy, but we will believe your stories. So, don't be afraid to talk to anybody about it.
Well, and on that point, if you're listening and you have questions that you think maybe possibly your child, your grandchild, you yourself, anybody that you know, and you're not sure, we will be happy to try to help you answer questions and ways to bring it up and ways to talk about it, because I think that there's too many people that go by in life that have stuff happening to them, and I think it creates problems for them later on if they don't understand things.
As far back as the written language goes, there's been paranormal things. There's been people with abilities. I don't really know for sure why we are in the future and it's taboo, or if people just consider it, wise tales.
Yeah.
Set aside what you don't understand as not being very brave.
No, I agree with that. So, like we said, feel free to contact us, email, Facebook Messenger, anything like that, and we can always help out. Even if you have something that you are not understanding yourself, we do not judge on that matter. We want to help people. That's what we're here to do. That's why we're telling you all of this stuff.
And if we've mentioned something that you know a lot about and we didn't quite get all of it, we would love for you to teach us. I mean, we're very open to that as well.
Yeah. Any last words? Other than that? Jackie?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, I want to thank the boys for coming on today and helping us out with this podcast. With all that, this has been Not Just Ghost Stories. We've been your hosts, Josh,
Laura,
and Jackie.
and until next time, you can find information and contact us on our website at notjustghoststories.com and see any evidence that we have discussed on Facebook at Not Just Ghost Stories. Thanks.